I'm from the South, and so if it's not smoked, then it's not worthy, right? I mean, wood-fired cooking is so primal. It's so, like, how it all started 10,000 or however many thousands of years ago. And now it's trending, which I think is funny that the original way ancient man cooked is now trending. I mean, how can that possibly be? It makes everything taste better. And it's sort of the ultimate connection to nature. Using nature to cook nature.
I've lived and worked all over the world. In 2012, we opened Deckman's in Emogor in Valle de Guadalupe on the grounds of an organic farm and vineyard with the goal to be as close to a sustainable 0-kilometer restaurant as possible. And I think I finally found my home. I came here because of the incredible ingredients that come from both the Sea of Cortez and the Pacific Ocean. We have beautiful produce, cheeses, meats, olive oils, all within mere miles from the restaurant. For me, it really is a chef's paradise. After I became a Mexican citizen, it was important for me to travel the country and meet like-minded chefs, ranchers, producers, fishermen, artisans, who shared my commitment to responsible and sustainable farming and fishing. Join me as we explore and deep dive into the magical landscape of Mexico and discover its rich culinary tapestry. The Baja Peninsula's stunning and diverse landscape of deserts, mountains, and coastlines is one of the longest peninsulas in the world, extending over 1,000 kilometers. And in my opinion, it's one of the most spectacular places on the planet. The Sea of Cortez on the east coast of the peninsula is known for its biodiversity and has been called the aquarium of the world for its vast variety of marine life. It has even been designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its ecological importance and distinctive marine ecosystems. The sea supports a wide range of amazing species and seafood. The Pacific Ocean on the west coast of the peninsula also has nutrient-rich waters. Here the ocean has a consistent tide flow, which produces a bounty of outstanding seafood. The northern part of the peninsula is Baja California, and this region has played a pivotal role in Mexico's food and wine revolution that began back in the early 2000s. Up until 20 years ago, there weren't any fine dining restaurants helmed by Mexican chefs, serving Mexican cuisine in Mexico. If you went to a fine dining restaurant in Mexico City, for example, the chef would be French, serving French food and French wine. But that began to change when in the late 1990s, aspiring chefs left the country to attend culinary school or stage at well-known restaurants throughout the world. With new sophisticated palates, knowledge, and sharpened culinary techniques, they returned to Mexico and opened their own restaurants. With a focus on using Mexican ingredients, they began to innovate, elevate, and redefine Mexican cuisine. Here in Baja California, two chefs spearheaded the movement to redefine Mexican cuisine in the early 2000s. Benito Molina opened Manzanilla in Ensenada, and Javier opened Laja in Valle de Guadalupe, both offering fine dining experiences with local ingredients. My friend Pablo Ferrer was instrumental in this new culinary movement. As a young oceanographer, he saw Baja ingredients being exported and not even being available to local chefs. He created the marketplace and the logistics to get these incredible ingredients to local chefs. Today, his company, Sargasso, is one of the premier and well-respected wholesale distribution companies in Baja and Mexico.
It's you, man. When people ask me what really caused the catalyst, what allowed Mexico to go from sort of seen as almost a celebration of peasant food. I don't know if that's the right word, but really traditional food, in sort of the high end, the ability of a finer restaurant experience was all created because he created a logistic to get high-end ingredients to these chefs. And there really wasn't, other than imported things, that didn't exist on a national level in Mexico.
Because at that time, you know, all over Mexico, if you wanted to have good ingredients,
It had to come from someplace
a
else.
restaurant,
Yeah.
they would bring them from abroad. So it's like ironic that we had these amazing ingredients going to other countries, and if you wanted something good, you would have to bring
You know,
it.
back then it was really the story with any ingredient in Mexico. You had some of the best agriculture products in the world all being exported, and what was left here, there weren't very many options. And I think that's changing. I think there's way more focus today in Mexico about celebrating local producers, understanding what is grown around you, and really the producers understanding that, hey, there is a marketplace in Mexico for those ingredients.
So yeah, I would say that I was at the right place at the right time, surrounded by the right people. And, you know, at that time, no hotel would dare to hire a Mexican chef. I mean, many different cooks, but the head chef would be French,
Italian,
European,
Spanish, yeah.
from anywhere, and sometimes a couple of Americans, but it was mostly European chefs. And I mean, it's been changing so much. Even Mexican food was not appreciated. I mean,
It really also changed the country, and in the sense that when the chefs started being recognized, the Mexican chefs started being recognized as Mexican chefs, and your restaurant starts being noticed, and it's not from France, and it's not from, you know, a European or American, you know, makes you proud. And so I think for Mexico and for all the, you know, from all the way from the back of the house to the front of the house, it fills you with pride.
cheers for that.
Yes, just
Cheers to the ingredients.
everything's delicious. Drew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruma and restaurant Fauna are part of the new wave of development in Guadalupe Valley. Beautiful infrastructure offering a highly polished hotel and gastronomy combined with well-made wines have set the tempo for the future development of the area. Restaurant Fauna recently grabbed the #5 spot of Latin America's 50 best restaurants by San Pellegrino, bringing well-deserved notoriety to the restaurant and the valley. It's one of the nice things about being here in Baja California that you can really kind of do sort of whatever you want,
Exactly.
right? But I mean about no rules.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, living in Michoacan, Oaxaca, or Yucatan, there's so much tradition and so many years. We have a colleague here in the valley that likes to say we don't have the weight of the pyramids on our shoulders.
Yes.
And so, you know, Baja food or Baja cuisine has really become kind of anything made with Baja ingredients.
Baja is a really young state, populated by mainly migrants from different parts of the world.
Exactly.
So I think is a combination between some sort of like Mexican influence, Baja flavors, with whatever background you have. Each family created its own version of Baja cuisine with the ingredients, with the backgrounds, with whatever they enjoy eating. So then still, we have some food that we don't share the same, you know?
See history.
It has to do with that, her Spanish background or my German background decided to do something different.
What brings us together, I guess, is seafood, because we all have seafood in our background, whatever way you prepared it. You know, I mean, erizo,
Yes.
and lobster, and cangrejo, and we all ate that in a way, no? And certain.
But that's going back to the ingredient.
Yeah, a lot of people think, of course, of seafood, no? So fish tacos when you come here. And I think gradually gastronomy or food has taken over that agricultural part of the valley. We have to remember that the sea gives us this amazing seafood in which everyone, you know, we became a gastronomical region in the country because of it. Let's not forget that, you know, when you come to the Valle, have a great meal, maybe enjoy a carajillo, but that's not why you're here. You know,
It all started with the wine.
it all started with the wine. Let's remember where we came from, what we're doing, what makes us special, and what created the whole thing. I love wine because I love food.
Yeah.
They come together.
You both grew up here, but then you both left and went to see the world, learning your trade and your skills. As you travel and you come back home, you're never the same person. It's not the same person that left on the travel that comes back. How have your international experiences allowed you to be better ambassadors, better producers here in Baja California?
The first time I left, it was to Denmark. Noma was the best restaurant in the world. That was the first time I started looking to our cuisine in a very different way. And it was until you see something else. It's like, for us, growing up here, is like, you have 500 different dishes, like different textures, different flavors, until I left, I started realizing how lucky we are and how much attention to food we have, like this huge spectrum of ingredients, flavors, traditions, and especially in a region where we can do whatever we want. That was for me the biggest thing.
I mean, I spent 16 years in Bordeaux, so that was a long while. And coming back and living this in Mexico just opens up so many possibilities. So I think working abroad and living abroad actually helped me realize that the biggest advantage that we have is us. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the
I
truth.
don't think so. I agree with you.
We're very, very lucky. We have great product from the mountain, great product from the ocean. I mean, the vegetables are amazing. We are very fortunate.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to leave what you have to understand what you have.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can't see the forest because of the trees. And so when you step away and you can look back and see the forest, and then you understand the abundance and the offering that we have here in Baja California and how just world-class, without a doubt, the ingredients are.
You eat beautifully in the Valle, and you drink amazing wine. Now, let's support that. Salud.
Ensenada is home to some of the most progressive and innovative aquaculture projects in the world. Aquaculture can get a bad rap sometimes, but in my opinion, just as in traditional farming, there are good practices and bad practices. When done correctly, aquaculture produces a superior ingredient while at the same time promoting a sustainable future and helping conserve the ocean's endemic populations. Although technically not aquaculture, Baja Aqua Farms, also doing business as Bluefina off the coast of Ensenada, is one of the local projects helping to conserve biomass. With a team of scientists, engineers, divers, and aquaculture specialists, the team has created a more sustainable, ethical, and responsible fishery for bluefin tuna that is setting best practices for the bluefin ranching industry. Because of illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, bluefin tuna populations have been severely overfished. And Bluefina invited me to see firsthand how they are redefining this industry and proving that it can be done responsibly. Thanks, Benito.
No.
I've been in the helicopters for races and things like that, but over the ocean and seeing the farm from the sky, it's really impressive. I mean, obviously, bluefin tuna gets there's a lot of publicity, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of people not doing bluefin tuna the right way, not respecting the resource, not acknowledging the market. And I've watched what you do change into a company that is very, very concerned.
Of course.
Very socially active, and really is doing what I see the most it possibly can to conserve the resource and still bring it to market.
It has been the hardest part to get into a concept that you have a resource that it's overexploited. We put a lot of effort, not only this company, this country put a lot of effort to set into a quota system. It has been 10 years that we start this concept to catch less and do more with what we have.
We're seeing more tuna, we're seeing them come back.
Definitely.
Nature's incredible in that sense, right?
That's the main
Give nature a break and she recuperates.
Which is a really cool thing, is because they're assessing the stocks, and they've realized that if they only harvest so much, that it's sustainable, and they're being able to get more tuna in bigger sizes at the capture out on the ocean, and they're doing better and better every year, which is really cool. But
So walk me a little bit through the process from setting the seine net to having a nigiri on your plate.
So he catches them with these big purse seines, and then he purses them, and then he puts them into a net just like the one that's right behind us here, to be towed by a boat, like these boats that we have behind us here. And they bring it in. They bring it in here, shore, where
So you actually transfer from the seine net to the corral at sea,
Yes.
and then the corral is towed back.
Once we transfer the fish, we have to keep it alive. Count the fish, size the fish. So every fish that is harvested from the ocean, when it gets here, it already has a certificate, no?
So you have divers working the whole way in.
Whole way in.
Okay. All right, so now we've transferred from the seine net to the corral. We've towed the corral back in. By the time it gets here, they've been counted. Do you know how many's in the corral and their approximate sizes?
Approximate sizes, number of pieces, and we start feeding.
And that's one of the things that we talked about, was that over time you've changed the way you feed the fish.
Yeah, we have learned how to catch the fish, farm the fish, feed the fish on the needs of the fish.
get them to the right conditions so that they're ready for market. So you don't really need to get them huge, you just need to get them right? Just a little condition.
Getting that fish in perfect conditions in the short amount of time, I mean, it's 90 seconds from water to the ice slurry?
Yes. Since we harvested here, every fish has its tag. You can know where was catched, year, the seiner that catch it, the towboat that tow it. It's a whole traceability concept.
How much of your product is sold on futures?
None.
None. Wow.
No.
Really?
No, it's not futures. This is based on the market needs. Every fish is harvested today. It's already sold.
Well, we were talking about the way it happens in the Mediterranean, where they capture everything, they feed everything at the same time, they harvest everything, and so there's huge amounts of fish coming to market all at the same time, and all that fish gets frozen.
It is.
There's no long-term employment. It's almost like migrant workers, right? And these guys are full-time employees. They have the Baja Aqua Farms tattoo. I mean, I see this as being way more manageable. That's controlling your market. That's eliminating waste.
Long-term farming takes long-term everything.
Benito and I were inspired to come to Baja California because of a visionary winemaker. Hugo da Costa was trained in Bordeaux, and when he returned to Mexico, he saw the potential of the region producing quality wine to complement the ingredients. So he sought out chefs who wanted to source local and create a cuisine that defined Baja California.
You and I are both here because of the same person. You came...
That is right.
10 years or more before me, way more than 10 years before me. Hugo brought you to Santo Tomas.
See? Big
What
part
would
of the
this
story.
be without him? I mean, he's the first guy that You know, I guess you could probably think that maybe somebody else would have seen the situation in Guadalupe Valley where people were stopping growing grapes because it cost them more to grow them because the few buyers there were had just squeezed everything out of the farmers. And he was like, well, you should make wine. Maybe somebody else would have done that, but it wasn't somebody else. It was Acosta to have that vision to go, hey, stop selling your fruit for pennies. I'll teach you how to make wine. Let's make wine. And that's where it went, right?
He knew that he had to create a culture of wine and teach people to make wine, teach people to drink wine, to make a bigger happening, you know? I think that takes a lot of caring, a lot of passion, a lot of understanding, a lot of
generosity.
Generosity. I mean, I think
Visión de campo, I say it a lot in Spanish. And for the wine industry in Mexico to take off where it took, they needed food. So they needed some cooks. And so that's how it happened. In Botelladora Vieja, the first reunion I had with him, he told me, I don't care if we make money, I just want to make this restaurant famous. So I ordered a wheel of Parmesano Reggiano, my first day. And kiss the Parmesano Reggiano. The Parmesano Reggiano is coming with me. But it was this understanding of like how the only thing that matters is to make the experience more beautiful. So he was ahead of his time. He's still ahead of his time.
Absolutely.
Ahead of his time and with a huge heart who share all this knowledge and let us shine.
What he did is he created all this beautiful wine industry where everybody was making great artisanal wines, and that brought in all these great chefs. And in my case, in particular, you have all these people coming in to try great wine that are made by small producers, and it opened the door for beer and for other things that are made artisanally much better than the industrial stuff. So a lot of us are here because of him, because of Hugo. And it kind of all brought us all in. And Ensenada has become a hub for that. As far as craft beer is concerned, in my case, Baja, and in particular Ensenada, is considered one of the top spots. And I think a lot of us are here because of that, because people are here and they like to try new things and they see that it is possible. And he is the one who made that possible for all of us.
He identified the existence of the ingredient and invited the right people to share those. And the two of you were groundbreakers here, just innovators. You, a couple years later, Javier started with Baja, but that really started the recognition of the area, what you were doing.
I mean, you have to understand that. I mean, Ensenada for people in Mexico City 22 years ago was the Wild West.
It was some place that people didn't think of coming to do anything. It was just a town.
I remember I was so blown away. I mean, the ocean, I kind of expected what I was going to see after being on the Tuna boat and coming here a couple of times. But what really blew my mind was when I went to Maniadero and I saw the farms.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, besides all this beauty in the ocean, we have all this beauty in the land. And so it was quite something to see all this other beauty besides the ocean, which is there. No? And I mean, like the olive oil, the wine is another ingredient, and all the other traditions, no? that like the cheese with Marcelo, for example, too. I mean, there is a lot of projects and a lot of people who are really interested in or committed to the products that they make, and they're proud of it and work on it really hard.
For me, the defining element of Baja cuisine is it's not a cuisine that's based on tradition, it's based on ingredient. And any ingredient made with Baja ingredients is automatically Baja cuisine.
That's exactly what I told Anthony Bourdain. We have the clean slate here, and I mean, and we don't have all this tradition of like Oaxaca or Chiapas. This is a new place with fantastic ingredients, with a wine region that's being born. So it was, I think, one of the most important things, and also the freedom that it gave us, because you don't have to follow anything. It was for us
Right.
to do what we wanted.
One of the ingredients that I've had on my menu since I opened is true striped bass, or in Spanish, lobina rayado. When we roast the whole sea bass, we actually debone it and put it back together. We season it with San Felipe sea salt, ground fennel seed, and also fennel confit. With thyme, a little bit of olive oil here from the valley, and into the hot wood-fired oven until the fish is done. We serve it with a sauce vierge, which is basically just a cured tomato vinaigrette. I source the fish directly from Pacific Aquaculture, who grows the bass 8 miles off the coast of Ensenada on Todos Santos Island. This is part of the Pacific Biosphere Reserve. This farm is the only sustainable sea bass farm in the world. I've been to the farm to see how the fish are cared for, and it's really an incredible experience.
Now, what we're doing there is selecting the strongest, the fastest growing from the start. Now we're much more focused on quality than just on quantity.
And come into market as quick as possible.
Exactly, no?
So what is the total amount of time from hatch to placement in the farm? How long are those fish here?
It takes about 110 days.
How big are the fingerlings when they?
Oof, they're about this size, yeah.
But, you know, aquaculture gets a really bad reputation. There have been some really horrible examples of aquaculture, not to do aquaculture. But aquaculture in a closed cycle like yours, it's not different than land farming.
Nope.
And in the same sense, there's good land farming, there's regenerative agriculture, there's organic agriculture, there's a lot of different things. And there's really shitty commercial agriculture that's just dumping chemicals and monoculture and the same as in aquaculture. There's best practices and not so good
practices, yeah.
And so I really, you know, I've always enjoyed watching Pacifico develop and change and become more and more with each season, more dedicated to sustainability, more dedicated to traceability, and really making it a long-term manageable project. And congratulations here. I love your fish.
Good. Again, I think big part of Pacifico is sustainability, no? Doing things right. Part of it, again, it's certifications that actually tells people that we're doing the good thing, no? You need to be very mindful of what's going on with the tanks, no? Luckily, we have good people here. They're all graduates from the local universities. The feedback that we get from techs from day to day, it's super important. We're 4 stars BAP certified. That's hatchery, farm, processing, and I mean, they're certified. It's meaning you don't use hormones. You're giving the best quality feed. You're taking care of your people, which is a big part. Doing social part on the community as well. Here we're doing 100% RAS, so the actual water that we discharge is small. The water quality that we discharge is actually better than what we receive. So it's a big thing, no? And at the end of the day, we have a product that's compared, let's say, to fisheries, that it's stable year round. The quality is stable since we manage to feed and everything around it. It's a really stable product, really good product, no?
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time, brother.
No problem, whenever.
Always a pleasure. We hear every day about climate change. We hear every day about all the horrible things that we have done to the earth, efforts to recuperate something, try to stop Armageddon. And I see a company like Baja Aqua Farms that's going to extreme lengths to conserve a resource, still a controversial resource, but you're doing so many things between traceability and responsibility and social programs. How do we get other fisheries to treat the ocean like you're treating the ocean? Just thinking about if the kind of traceability and conservation efforts that you are applying to your capture, other fishermen and other fisheries would use, how fast the ocean would rebound and how how much more it would just come back.
I think the most important part is to understand that we own this respect to the ocean. Every one of us in this table, we have a huge respect to the ocean, and the ocean has shaped our lives. So we have this contribution or respect to pay back. This respect is sustainability, traceability, zero plastic, all of those things that can make a change.
I think it's a mistake to just concentrate on the ocean. Yes, the ocean's very important for everyone sitting here, but it's so interconnected with the land. And conservation and traceability and chemicals and water conservation, and it's one equation. If you started with their social programs and the way they treat their employees, most fishermen don't get paid very much. To feed your family, you have to fish a lot. You've got to catch huge amounts of fish to get to a volume that, hey, my kid can go to college, I can buy a car, I can build a house. I think if we started in fisheries from just being willing to pay more for a fish, finding a way to eliminate second, third, fourth, fifth buyers and get closer to the source when we're buying, I don't know. I think that has a trickle up effect, and creating a better life for a fisherman that would not require them to just take everything out of the ocean. And I'm not just talking about Mexico. I'm talking about worldwide.
No, I agree, but it has to do with education, showing them that there's a value, like what Pablo's doing, saying, hey, you know, we will pay you more for a quality fish that has been managed properly. You know, you don't just grab it and throw it in the boat. You grab it, you ikijimi it, you put it on ice, and then, you know, they'll pay you more for it. So we need to show them that there is that market. And as a consumer, we have to be willing to pay more for that market and let our distributors or the people who are getting us our fish know that, so that they can communicate with the fisheries.
You know, go back to the really vote with your fork, move the market based on what products they choose. As a restaurant owner, I don't source things. First of all, there's nothing that I serve that I don't know where it's from. One of my favorite Baja ingredients is the oyster. The Pacific coast of Baja has optimal growing conditions for oysters. Due to this, the oyster has become one of the most indicative and representative ingredients of the new Baja cuisine.
When I first moved to Baja California, I was blown away by the quality. There's a couple of different species being grown. Almost all of them are Casiotreses gigas, which is the Pacific oyster. I want to show you guys 3 oysters that I've come to love here in Baja California. So remember, when you look at these oysters, we're talking about exactly the same species. The difference in the oyster is the choice that the farmer makes in his farm. You can tumble, you can do off bottom, you can do them on the beach. And each one of those ends up with a different result in the quality of the oyster, the taste of the oyster, and the form of the oyster. So this is the chati. It's semi-tumbled, so you get a nice rounded shell, decent commercial size. This is the kumiai. Is a little more rough, has a little more fluting, is also semi-tumbled, a little bit less than the chati. And then this is the pai pai, which is a little oyster golf ball, very similar to some of the luxury tumbled oysters in the Pacific Northwest. So our sauce mignonette really only has 3 ingredients: red wine vinegar, shallot, and crushed pink peppercorns. You can add anything you want. Oysters tend to be salty, so the opposite of saltiness is acidity. So that's why champagne and crisp, bright white wines go so well with oysters, because you have the bright acidity that goes against the salinity of the oyster. So what we're gonna make a mignonette with a little bit of vinegar, trying to just play a little bit with the saltiness of the oyster. A little bit of shallot. A little bit of brunoise, not much. And then we'll take a little bit of the pirul. This is, it's already ground, so this is the pink peppercorn. Gonna add just enough to sort of flavor it. So now we have the shallot, the peppercorns, and this is red wine vinegar. Mix it slightly, and it's ready to go. So let's open the oysters. Okay, so we'll start with the kumiais. There's so many different ways to open an oyster. So, I open them from the side. So all we want to do is just really separate the adductor muscle from the top shell. So when you open it, there shouldn't be half of the oyster stuck here. Dump the first water. That's really the water that's been inside the oyster. It doesn't really add anything. If the oyster's alive, it's going to make its own water again. And then I just separate the adductor muscle from the bottom shell so you can eat it. These are the kumiais. The flavor profile of the kumai is briny, obviously. Finishes with a slight cucumber, sort of melon finish to it. And I look at it as sort of a neon brininess as opposed to the pai, and as we get down, the more tumbled, become a little more creamy, and the saltiness becomes more rounded. So these are the chatis. Creamier in its profile. How much mignonette to use, it's your call. I personally eat my oysters. When I'm eating, a drop of lemon, maybe not very much mignonette at all. So we're just got just a little bit of the shallot, not too much, otherwise you're tasting sauce and not oyster. Just a touch of the mignonette. If you like more, it's not a problem. Put some on the table for your guests, then they can all kind of make their own decision. So one of the ways I like to create the bridge between the ocean and the land, what I think is one of the most important products of the Guadalupe Valley is olive oil. So we only use olive oil here from the valley, all cold pressed, extra virgin. And so we just add just a drop of the olive oil to the oyster, and it really gives it a little more creaminess and aids with sort of combating some of the salinity of the Baja oyster. Enjoy. When you're out there and you see Baja oysters in your favorite oyster bar, order them.
Off-road racing is one of my passions. I support many races like the Rebel Rally, the Baja 500, as their chef on the road, and sometimes I get behind the wheel. Today we are venturing into the mountains for a fun ride before dipping into the Ojos Negros Valley to visit my dear friend Marcelo Castro, who has continued his family's 100-year legacy of cheese making that began when his great-great-grandfather, a Swiss-Italian immigrant, bought land in the valley. Marcelo is the fourth generation of cheesemakers and continues to honor his great-grandfather's all-natural recipe. His cheeses are not pasteurized and there are no hormones. The farm raises German Holstein cows for their milk production because of its flavor over the Swiss Jersey. They are pasture-fed and fed on fresh clover, alfalfa, and hay, which adds flavor to the cheeses.
Ver aquí en las galerías donde están las generaciones y algunas fotos de la familia. Pero ya tenemos 4 generaciones.
¿En qué año llegaron de Suiza?
1880.
Increíble. ¿Y ustedes, pues, siempre hicieron queso?
Sí, queso.
¿Cuándo construiste la cava?
Tiene 15 años va a tener, o sea, a la fecha.
Me recuerdo que fuiste a Europa,
sí,
fuiste a
Italia, Holanda, a aprender un poco las presentaciones, procesos y todo el añejamiento, ¿no?
Y el aroma, y ahorita vas a ver abajo cómo refresca. O sea, el tema de temperatura en la cava es increíblemente... ¿Te fijas cómo aquí ya se siente más fresco, ¿no?
Sí, se va bajando, va bajando.
Y aparte se van sintiendo los olores, ¿no? Vamos a ver para que vean acá.
Entonces, eso es la parte donde tienes los quesos más añejos.
Ajá.
¿Cuánto tiempo?
Aquí están de 2 años a 2 años y medio. Esta es la parte más vieja y luego te vas yendo a los más jóvenes.
Esos son más de referencia.
Sí.
Estos realmente no salen al mercado. Pero platícanos, Marcelo, o sea, tus abuelos vendían el queso fresco, ¿no? Toda la vida.
Y yo batallé por eso porque, o sea, vendíamos el queso y ya recuperas, ¿no? Y hay que guardarle. Lo que pasa es que ya que agarras la secuencia y que agarras, o sea, y precio, y la gente lo empieza a conocer y lo empieza a decir, o sea, empieza a ser más referencial el queso Ramonetti como añejo que como fresco, a nivel, digo, país.
Porque antes lo conocían como queso del Real,
Ajá,
¿no?
como queso del Real,
Y
así
era,
es.
y era lo que conseguías en las tienditas de frutas sí, las pequeñas tienditas en Tijuana, Mexicali y Ensenada.
Con el auge del vino, pues el queso fue acompañamiento.
¿Y tú cuál dirías que es el secreto del queso, Marcelo? O sea,
La calidad de la tierra es muy importante y la calidad del agua, porque siempre a través de eso sale tu calidad de leche o tu sabor de leche también. Y todas las estaciones es algo diferente, pero o sea, es la representación de Real del Castillo, sus cambios de temporadas. Pero es muy importante la calidad de la tierra, de tu comida, del ganado, ¿no? Y la calidad del agua.
Obviamente, parte muy importante es también en mano del quesero, ¿no?
Sí,
porque
así es.
que estás en condiciones higiénicas, que estás repitiendo el mismo proceso que ya para ganar esta consistencia en calidad de largo plazo, ¿no?
pero mira, o sea, una de las cosas que yo he visto en general es que la mayor parte de la gente en la industria de los lácteos se acostumbra a dar pastura seca, se acostumbra a tener a las vacas en los corrales,
Así es,
se acostumbra a pasteurizar la leche, o sea, entraron en el juego de la industrialización y una de las cosas increíbles de esta quesería es que se mantiene artesanal, que esa es otra de las cosas interesantes de este proyecto, ¿no? Mientras en la mayoría de los proyectos de queso inoculan con microbiologías que vienen de Francia, de Italia o de Suiza.
Eso es todo la
O sea, aquí lo estás haciendo con la microbiología nativa.
Sí.
O sea, lo único que añade Marcelo es sal y
El cuajo.
¿no?
Sí, es todo.
O sea,
a la leche. Que es
entonces,
todo.
o sea, regresamos a lo artesanal por completo, ¿no? Totalmente natural.
Así es.
Increíble. ¿Hay una manera correcta de catar queso?
Lo mejor es que lo pruebes puro y sí, entre medio tiene que ir algo, puede ser desde una cerveza, mezcal, vino, inclusive los he hecho con té. Y de esa manera vas como limpiando el paladar. También la manzana es importante para limpiar el paladar.
Entre cada queso.
Puede ser después de los frescos y especies, un gajo de manzana para limpiar el paladar, para probar realmente el sabor de los añejos.
Ok. Sí. Entonces, Marcelo, ¿qué tenemos aquí?
Primero en tu plato tienes una mantequilla del lado izquierdo y el requesón seco, ricota, ¿no? Digo, yo comería primero la mantequilla y si quieres al ricota ponerle poquita mermelada de higo casera.
En la grasa está todo lo bueno, pero también todo lo malo. Y cuando tienes algo natural...
Aquí vamos a probar, ahorita vamos a iniciar de aquí, que es un queso fresco, que es la base de todos aquí, nuestros quesos. Luego una mezcla con albahaca, con pimienta negra, romero.
Raw meat. Some people don't like to eat raw meat. I like to eat raw meat. I think it's sort of the true flavor of what responsible, properly raised beef is. We source from a farm in Sonora that cares deeply for the wellness of their animals. So today we're working with eye of ribeye. So this is a ribeye. You can tell there's not a lot of fatty graininess. This is a grass-fed, non-fattened cow. We're dealing with textures that are a little more, less traditional in the sense of, so much of the beef is fattened at the end, and you get this artificial fat that's deposited in the meat. Not really very healthy for the cow or for the person that eats it. I'm just gonna do a little bit of raw ribeye. So we're just gonna do thin slices, sort of almost like a sashimi. I'll do 5 here. We're just gonna lay them out. This kind of a plate is not something this is not a planned recipe. So for me, anything like a sashimi, a tiradito, a carpaccio, it's really about what do you have in front of you? What's there? One of the things that we really started to do this year that is fermenting excess from our garden. Instead of trying to turn everything into compost, we've started to lacto-ferment a lot of things. So one of the things that we've sort of found along the way as we were doing this is kimchi. And we just take vegetables, things that we already have in our garden. Everything goes into the kimchi. We use cayenne pepper that we grew and dried from our own garden, and as opposed to buying a chili that's imported from Korea. Just give it 2% salt by volume and let it go. This is our kimchi. So I'm just gonna chop this up a little bit for our beef, just to give it a little easier to eat texture. Acidity, spice, punginess, just to, San Felipe sea salt right down the middle. This is a lemon emulsion that we make. So this is literally whole lemon. We cut them in half, take out the seeds, and then equal parts olive oil in the blender, and it turns into this sort of mayonnaise that's vegan, as well as super tasty. This is a bergamot kosho that we also made here. This is inspired by like a yuzu kosho in the Japanese cuisine. Bergamot is the citrus that's used in Earl Grey tea. You don't really use the insides, you use the outside, the rinds. So this is bergamot that's been salt cured for about 4 years. We then ferment serrano chilies and then chop everything up together. And so this is our Guadalupe Valley take on yuzu kosho. We can add a little freshness, cucumber. This doesn't have to be super fancy. It just has to be flavorful, right? And in your house, you have most of these ingredients. Just add a little bit of fresh cucumber on one side of it. A little bit of green onion, also from our garden. One of my favorite sort of fresh flavor ingredients. Handful right there in the middle. And then these are pea fronds. We've got some winter peas that we planted. So we just go down and cool green stuff, man. And so we're just gonna put that a little bit all over the place. And then back to the Guadalupe Valley olive oil and everything. And just a twist of pepper. This is a very simple dish. Use flavors you have that you like. And just to really take the raw meat over the top, Ensenada has extremely healthy, very sustainable sea urchin diver industry. Beef tartare is typically eaten with egg yolks. Well, we eat our beef tartare with raw sea urchin. This can be eaten with chopsticks, fork and knife. You can cut it thicker, thinner, however you like to do it. Sort of Frenchy, sort of not. Sort of kimchi, sort of not. Sort of Mexican, sort of not. So I think that really describes what Guadalupe Valley and Baja California is. It's a crossroads of many, many different cultures.
My friend and colleague, Chef Javier Plascencia, along with his family, have numerous restaurants along the peninsula and have played a significant role in the culinary scene, not only of Tijuana, but of the entire Baja Peninsula.
We opened Saverio's, and I started cooking Italian. And then after a few years, I said, why am I cooking Italian? I'm Mexican. I wanna learn about my cuisine or my region. And I met Pablo. He started bringing me some samples of what we had here locally, the seafood that I always crossed to San Diego to get, salmon and swordfish and even basil. I had to cross to San Diego to bring basil to Tijuana. And that's how I started, opening my eyes, seeing what was out here, and started, doing my own little changes on the menu.
Mission 19 opened in 2009, and I just remember walking in there and just going, oh, wow.
Yeah, what is this?
This place is a game changer.
Yes.
I mean, Mission 19 was really, at least for Baja California, really the first modern, cutting edge. Yeah. It was so different than anything that was around, and a celebration of Baja ingredients, incredible service, great wines, and in a setting that was really, really special.
It was really nice.
And
first tasting menus in Tijuana, because never had it. We did a lot of wine dinners and met amazing people, and so it was a very ingredient-driven restaurant, and it was really fun. So it was a really good experience for the younger generation because now a lot of the cooks that work there, they have their own restaurants.
Something important that was going on in Tijuana is the culinary school, culinary arts school, I think.
Started more or less same time.
Yeah, they've done an amazing job.
And that's also sort of, I think, Mission 19 combined with the school, which sort of, we now have a finishing school for chefs in Tijuana, and we also have a real school. And that's when, like, all these gastro parks started popping up and these really creative, progressive young chefs doing some pretty amazing things from a 3-meter by 3-meter box in some, like, food truck park.
Well, now it's obviously that we became a food destination. Now people are serious about our food, and they come and people want to discover more of the ingredients that we have, the wines, of course, and the craft beer. And
a year after Javier opened Mission 19 in Tijuana, he opened Finca Altozano, 90 miles south in Guadalupe Valley. When I walk in today, I still remember Finca back then, and it makes me think about Deckman's back then, and how we all started sort of like this, and then it just goes, oh, we need a little more space. All right, well, we can just go, how about that? And just sort of the beauty of starting in an open space as opposed to inside of a building in a city where you're like, all right, well, I rented this space. If it gets too small, I need to find another space. And in our cases, it's sort of like, well, I'll just move the hay bales, right? Or I'll just extend the deck. And now you come in and it's amazing. One of your quotes that I use in a lot of interviews, and I always accredit it to you as, like, you know, a friend of mine, Javier Plascencia, always said, well, here in Baja California, we don't have the weight of the pyramids on our shoulders, which makes us so different from other places in Mexico. You know, if I go and I try to do my version of a mole negro in Oaxaca, they're gonna go like, that's not a fucking mole. You know, what are you thinking? But here it's like, oh no, well, these clams are from here, and I grew the food, and the oil's from here, and we grew the chilies, and the salt's from San Felipe, but it doesn't look Mexican. We say, well, it's Baja California.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the big advantages that we have here, I think, because you get, I mean, they're part of your team, the producers or the fishermen, and that's what I really love about this region and the people. They're very, you know, they feel very proud when they see their product on your menu, and they care for it. They come and check back with you. Hey, how's it going? Is it working out? What can I do? You know, that's great.
Amigos, familia, gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Como para los últimos 10 años de este proyecto que llama Deckman's en el Mogor. Si hay una cosa que aprendí en estos 10 años, no podemos sin la ayuda y la camaradería de nuestro equipo, Team Deckman's. Nuestro restaurante está basado en 3 palabras: ingrediente, ingrediente, ingrediente. Pero el ingrediente es mucho más complejo que solo comida. Son 10 años. Intento siempre ser el ejemplo de cómo manejar un restaurante sustentable, de buen tratamiento de nuestra familia laboral, es ser buen vecino. Gracias a todos ustedes. Gracias por estar aquí. Recuerden de tomar vino mexicano. Baja California, por arriba.
Música, maestro.